All right, we're going to go over this syllabus right now, which I know is super exciting and you all want to do that, but we have to. One thing to note is that besides the printout that I gave you, it is on Blackboard as well in your shell that you have for this class. Whoops, syllabus, that's where I want to go. So all this information is here, which includes the links to any information. So I'm going to try to just hit the highlights. This is an interesting class. It is a 54-hour, 2-credit class, which means we don't meet all the way through the end of the school year. This class runs 12 weeks. So we will be done 3 weeks before the actual semester is done with this class, for sure. I'm hopeful that we're going to be done 4 weeks early because one of our 12 learning plans is a field trip to Hamilton Wood Type in Two Rivers. Anybody heard of it or been there? It is fantastic. It is like one of the coolest treasures in the typography world, and it's right here, literally in our backyard. And do you guys have classes on Friday? But never you. Okay. So what I do is I find a Friday, either a late morning or a 1 o'clock, like a 10 or a 1, depending on what works for them, and we book our tour then. That counts as one of our 12 meeting times classes, so it'll get us actually done a little bit earlier because we'll have our normal Monday class. We'll also do the field trip on Friday, and we'll also have Monday the next week. So that'll get us done 4 weeks prior to the end of the semester, which is nice. Those of you, which is all of you, that have digital photography, I assume, that doesn't start until the last, well, it's actually 8 weeks out from the end of school, but it's only a 7-week class. So that starts right after spring break and runs up until the week before finals. So the nice thing is that these two only overlap for a small amount of time, so eventually you no longer have Mondays. So as soon as I get that booked, I will tell you when it is. I have it on the schedule right now as a tentative date of Friday the 21st, but I'll let you know, but that will be mandatory and we'll talk about it as we get closer to it. So we do have a book. It's like this. You do need it. You're going to have to read chapter 1 before next week, which is all on the history of type. So if you don't already have this book, bookstore or Amazon should be your friend. Everybody needs and has, I assume, still their subscription to the Creative Cloud. We need that to do some things. And you also need a place of backing up and storing your homework that is not analog, it's not on paper. So if it's a digital file, save it to Adobe Creative Cloud and or the OneDrive where you have free storage, and then a super backup is like a jump drive. Don't let a jump drive necessarily be your number one because you can forget those at home, they can get lost, your dog can eat them, your cat can slap them off the roof, whatever, they can get lost. So make sure that you have your work backed up in a way that you can get to it. Basic grading information. Class attendance, participation / professionalism is 10 points each time you come for 120 total points. So not showing up or showing up and sleeping through the class doesn't get you the full 10 points because you're not really doing anything other than physically being here. We do have a quiz of 20 points, and then we have 6 or maybe 7 projects for about 160. So you can see that your attendance is pretty heavily weighted in this class, and that's an easy way to get your points, is to just be here and actually hang out and do the stuff in class. Grading scale is the same as with every class here. Program class, 93% is an A, 86 is a B, 80 is a C. And this is a program class, so you must get a C or higher in this class to pass it and move on. If there's a rubric and I give you an assignment that needs to be printed, you're going to staple the rubric to the top of it. I usually print them and give them to you. If you happen to lose it, you need to go download it from Blackboard and print it yourself. Classes like this, I want you to understand that the grading can be a little subjective. It isn't design in general. But just because you follow the steps doesn't mean you always get full points because it has to be aesthetically pleasing as well. So Your assessments are based on, did you follow directions? Do you cooperate with your classmates as needed on a project? Is it neat? Skill level is achieved, it's accurate, the content is good, and the creativity is good. So looking back in some other assignments, like let's just say Photoshop, your movie poster, some of them looked fantastic, but in the rubric I gave you, you had to do a vector mask, at least one regular mask, at least one of this, one of that, and if you didn't do those, you couldn't get all the points no matter how cool it looked. Other people did all of the things, but it wasn't pleasing. It wasn't a good looking poster, right? You can't just do one or the other. It has to be both. Deadlines and assignments. Okay, this is slightly new. Late assignments are going to only be accepted at the instructor's discretion, and that especially means after the 2-week time limit. So the design industry is intensely deadline driven. If you have a deadline for something, you need to make it or you're in trouble. Magazines are a great example. If the magazine says we need your ads by 5 o'clock on Friday, and you think, oh, Monday at 8 is fine, they're not going to do anything over the weekend. Yeah, they are. A lot of these big press houses run all the time. They do press checks on the weekend, and they run magazines on the weekend. So if your client's ad did not get there, but you booked it, and they saved spot this big in the magazine for your client's ad, guess what goes there? Nothing, because you didn't give them anything. They put in one of their own ads or something to fill the space. You still get charged. Your client still booked the space. They get billed. You probably lose a client. So you can't be willy-nilly in this industry. You have to be deadline driven, and you have to be good and be talented. So the other thing I'm doing that's kind of new, any project that's not completed by the given deadline must be submitted as is for assessment. So if it's due next Monday at the start of class and you've only done 1/8 of it, you need to turn in that 1/8 to get any credit ever, whether it's done or not, okay? You have to show me on deadline where you are. It has to be done. If it's a blank document and it's clear that you didn't do anything, I might say, sorry, that doesn't cut it. But at least if you've got something going, then I'm going to extend these other deadlines to you and allow you to do them. Where, okay, it's late, but if you get it to me in the next 3 days, it's worth 90% of the points. If it's late after that, in that first week, it's worth 80%, which we've done before. Second week of being late, it's worth half credit. Beyond that, it's worth 0, okay? But you just don't get to not turn anything in and turn it in 2 days later to get your 90%. You have to prove to me that you at least started to get anything to be considered. Otherwise, it's just a big fat 0. You guys, are you aware? Do you understand what I'm saying and where we're going with this? Okay. Let's see. We're also going to have a lot of peer review and presentations in this class, so giving each other valid feedback is going to be really important. Finding ways to give people helpful hints without being insulting is important. Finding ways to tell people what needs to be fixed without saying, oh, it looks good. You need to speak up and help them. Okay, attendance. So you've already seen that you're getting 10 points a class. Exceptions are made for extreme circumstances only, such as horrible, like a death in the immediate family, hospitalization. What's not extreme is a job conflict, oversleeping, childcare, or transportation problems. However, I also am a human and I understand, oh my gosh, my child started puking at 5 a.m. and I can't take him to daycare. I have nothing I can do. I have to stay home. A, I get that, and B, more importantly, you talk to me about it, you're proactive. You don't just fall off the map for 2 weeks and then say, oh, my kid was sick. Like, that won't fly. So if something comes up, if your car doesn't start, I get that that can happen. If your car doesn't start 4 of the 12 times, that's a problem. It may not be the truth, right? If you have a grandmother who dies and you have 5 grandmother funerals in a semester, that may not be the truth. And I may not be so nice about that either. So just talk to me, let me know what's going on, send me a message if you're sick. You know, every now and then we have these snowstorms where, depending on where you live, you might not be able to get out of your driveway until noon. I get that, or whatever. If you're late, or not making it at all. It's your responsibility to figure out what went on, meaning check Blackboard. I'm going to put everything in there. I'm going to record the videos like I do now, or the lectures. Any worksheets, anything that goes on will be in Blackboard. So it's going to be your responsibility to check Blackboard and get caught up and be aware of the deadlines. You can't just show up in 2 weeks and say, well, I didn't know anything about that, because it's really all there. It will be there. Don't store your files literally on these Macs. We've talked about that. You know that they're only under your identity, and if you can't sit down here, you can't get to them. So don't store on the hard drives here. Store to your cloud, jump drive, whatever. Your responsibility to learn. I love this one. If you're confused, please ask questions. Stop me in the middle of the class, talk to me at break, after, send me an email, ask for assistance or clarification. Sometimes it means researching the topic on your own, meaning opening up your textbook and looking at something, Googling it, maybe leaning over to your friend and saying, hey, I forgot how to copy something. What do I do? And they go, Command C. Okay? Do those things, because in the real world, you wouldn't run to your supervisor or your boss with some of these questions. You would look into it and try to figure it out and troubleshoot on your own. So we're going to practice getting better and better at those abilities also. Appropriate images, we just have to think about that always in this class in design. Because we're students and it's educational, we have a lot of leeway to use things. But in the real world, you know you can't just steal Mickey Mouse and slap him on something. It's copyrighted, it's trademarked, it's protected. You can't do that. So whenever possible in all these classes, use your own artwork if you can, or use royalty-free images or graphics. Okay? I'm going to try to not be stealing things off the internet. The bottom half of this is across all the classes. So the ADA statement, if you have any documented physical or cognitive ability that you might need accommodations for, click that link, go see. It used to be Patrick, but he's no longer here. I think it's George Hensey who's doing accommodations right now. If you're going to drop or transfer, please just don't do it willy-nilly. Talk to your advisor first to make sure that you can drop and you're not going to get an F, or that it's not going to affect your financial aid, and make sure you understand the ramifications it has long-term. I'm so happy you're all back for semester 2, so don't be dropping, any of you. Student conduct, your rights and responsibilities are all in the student handbook, which is online. And if you have that planner, that calendar thing that they give you for free, it's in there. If you don't have one and you want one, they're usually down in the atrium at Student Services. Confidentiality and responsible employee statement. So just know that everybody here is protected from sex or gender-based discrimination. We're inclusive. We want to make things accessible for anyone and everyone. So if you have any issues with anything like that, know that there are people to talk to and protections in place. So again, that's the stuff that we have to put in every syllabus. And then one thing that came about after the fact that didn't get in there is English language support. So if English isn't your native first language and you want any help with maybe looking over a paper or helping with a presentation or anything like that, we have a person who's coming to campus, plus I think he's at Sheboygan campus and the Manitowoc campus also, but he's here at Cleveland Tuesdays 11 to noon and Thursdays 11 to noon, and then Wednesdays from 2 to 3:30. And he can look over papers, help with anything and everything. So if it's not your native language and some of it gets tricky, totally understand and respect that. I cannot imagine doing schoolwork in my second language. That would scare me to death. So he can help. Okay. Any questions or concerns about the overall syllabus? Okay, and then the second part of it is the weekly schedule, which is subject to change. But, why not print it out and hope that it all works. This is what we are going to attempt to do each week. As it changes, if something has to change, we'll talk about it in class, and I'll update this document on Blackboard. On here, it's going to be kind of talking about what we're doing, what I want you to do for the next week, and what I want you to read. So today you can see at the end there's obviously going to be something to do with hand lettering because that's going to be due at the start of class next week. And I want you to read chapter 1 in the book before you come to class next week. That is on history of type. It's quite long, and really more than studying it and taking crazy notes on it, I want you to browse it, look at the pictures, look at the graphics, read the captions, understand the big periods and times in history of time and how it affected type, and we're going to talk through that next week. But I don't want it to be the first time you've ever heard it. Okay, so browse through chapter 1. Next week, the very first thing we're going to do is the project that I asked you to do. We're going to do some peer review on that. So we're going to do a lot more peer review in this class than we've been able to do in your software-based classes, where I'm not just going to assign something and it's going to be due and that's that. We're going to have time to look at it and fix it and improve it and go from there. So if I get the field trip scheduled for the 21st of February, then this schedule stands. If it ends up being a different date, that chunk will just move to a different time. But the class topics aren't going to change because these are all Mondays. It's just this one. When we do go, there's a $10 admission fee that also includes, we're making a poster on their letterpress. So they have wood types. They have big letters of wooden type. They're like stamps that they set up in this press, and then we put ink on it and we run a piece of paper through it. So that's an example of 2016. This is last year's, kind of did a dual color. That's the year before. That poster and those are examples of wood type. It was the only way back in the day they could make big posters. There weren't computers and presses. So if you wanted a letter N that was this tall, they used to make them out of metal. That was really heavy, so now they started carving them out of wood, and that's what Hamilton is. It's a wood type foundry. Okay. Spring break rolls in March 9th through the 13th, and then we do come back. And like I said, if we have a snow day or something and we need to still come, that extra date, it'll be April 13th. But if we can get our 12 classes done in 11 weeks, we'll be done on April 6th. That's kind of nice with the, kind of takes your workload down a little bit too. Any questions? Okay. All right, next thing I'm going to do is show you a video, and it is called, the way that they show this is called kinetic type, meaning type that moves. So you've maybe seen this before, where whatever words are being spoken, they animate on the screen and they move around and jump and do whatever. So this is a really neat demo of kinetic type, but I also love this because the message that he reads is excellent and funny. So it's a good, it's doubly good change here from what you're seeing on this PowerPoint, especially if you have one of the old ones pulled up that I didn't overwrite yet. So let's talk about fonts. And I know from having Illustrator and Photoshop and Design Fundamentals, you guys have already found fonts and have been downloading them and whatever, but there's other things we're going to talk about today. What if you are out in the wild walking around and you see a cool font? How do you find out what it is? Take a picture of it and then and there are more than one of these websites that will do that for you, but one that I know of on the My Fonts site is called What the Font. And there are also apps on your phone that you can put on that you can load the app, take a picture, and it's going to figure it all out for you right in the app versus taking a photo, uploading it. What if it's in print and you have no phone on you, which is crazy, I know, never happens. But if there's some way that you can take it over to a scanner and scan it, old school, I know, and then upload it to these same sites. That works as well. And the other thing about this site, What the Font, for example, you can also type in a URL. So maybe you just send it to a web page and say, I want to know what that font is. That's cool. So that's one option. If you're scanning, which is not common anymore, but this is about the size they want you to scan it so that they can see the letter forms to kind of compare it. How many pixels is 1 inch tall? 72. 72 dots per inch or pixels per inch is 1 inch. So at 100, you're a little bit taller, obviously, than 1 inch. That's a nice size to upload the word so that it can identify. And if it has more than one letter, it helps it to figure it out, because let's be honest, the letter, I don't know, let's say A can look the same in a lot of different fonts, but maybe a Q or an R or something else is what's stylized uniquely to help identify the font. So the more letters you have, the better it's going to do. Installing new fonts on a PC. If you haven't done that before and you need directions, they're here. Basically, you're getting a zipped file and you're unzipping it and then putting it in a font folder. On a Mac, we're actually going to do this, and you've probably done it already, but we're going to work through it. There are 100 different sites to get free fonts. So what are some disadvantages of free fonts over fonts that you pay for? What do you think would be a downside of going to, these are hopefully pretty trusted sites, but maybe you're being sent to some weird site to get a free font. Yeah, you could end up being, getting a virus, or really just getting into their tracking and figuring things out. So Adobe Fonts, built into your subscription to Adobe, is awesome, because when you share those files with anybody who has a subscription, I don't need to have the font locally or download it locally. It's going to quick go get it and work with me while I'm in your file. Otherwise, if it's not something from Adobe, you have to package a file, whether it's Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, whatever, and or find a way to send your fonts with it. So you can follow my fonts and other font design foundries on social media, which is always fun. Places like Creative Market and Envato often have free fonts every week, which is a fun way to add to your font collection. The one that we're going to look at today is DaFont, D-A font. So do I have control of your screen, or can you do other things? Okay. Just shrink it down and move it to the side. Okay. So I want everybody to go onto internet browser and go to DaFont, dafont.com. I like this one because they have a lot of really neat display fonts. Not a lot in here, especially on this first view, is something that you're going to typeset body copy to. You're not going to do your annual report in Alyssa or Keisha or whatever you see here. But these might have really good uses for headlines or heading ones in web design, something like that. About this site, a few things I want you to notice. At the top, they kind of categorize them by sort of type in the way they call them. So we have fancy, foreign, techno, does that say techno? Techno, bitmap, gothic, basic, script, dingbats, and holiday. So if you kind of knew, I want a basic font that is a sans serif. You could click on that, and here they are. So quick reminder, I'm guessing you had it in Design Fundamentals, but we're definitely going to talk about it a lot now. Serif versus sans serif type. Serifs are the little feet. I drew the letter S up here this morning, and you see how this one has the little feet on it? That's what serifs are, so that's a serif type. Sans means without. So sans serif looks like this. There's no little feet on it. Versus serif type has the little feet. So this is one way of drilling down to what you're looking for. You can also type something into the search bar up here. And then on the right-hand side, before you even click on a font, I want you to notice way at the far right, it says free for personal use, but let's go down until we find one that says something else. Personal, 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 personal. Here we go. Optimus Princeps, whatever this one is, 100% free, and it comes with 2 font files. That means you can use it commercially. You can use it for your clients. You can use it on t-shirts. You can use it on coffee mugs. Okay, so if you're using fonts from something like DaFont, make darn sure you're looking at the licensing and it's something that you can use for a client. Just because you like it doesn't mean you can use it commercially. Okay. Then let's just pick, I want you to click on any one of these that you maybe like, and it's going to show you the entire specimen, so capital letters, lowercase letters, any of the special symbols or glyphs that come with it are all going to be shown. And at the very top you have a box that says custom preview. So if you knew that you had to put the title of your movie here and it was, I'm lost, give me the title of any movie right now. Does anybody know a movie that's out right now? Okay, we don't get out much, do we? Bad Boys? Yeah. Bad Boys. And then I say submit. Now I actually see, it doesn't look anything like it. It looks very different, doesn't it? The custom preview. You can put your name in there or the title of whatever it is you want to typeset in these words. Good grief. What am I doing? Typing backwards? B-R-E. What is going on? B. This is bizarre. Okay, there's my name now, I guess. Wow. It shows you a preview, which is helpful. Some other things that you might want to do if we go back to that front page. Just plain old DaFont. We're going to, whichever one you want, go ahead and click on it. I'm going to take this shock bar here. And in order to, and the nice thing is when you get into these secondary previews, a lot of these have an example of it in a layout. So it's showing what it looks like with some graphics behind it, which is kind of nice to see. To the far right, you have the download button. And let's all run through this to make sure we remember how to download fonts to our Mac. We're going to click on the download button, and it's going to come down here or to your downloads folder. Either way, it's going to be a zip file. And then you double click on it to open the zip file and see what's in there. So when you double click, it gives you the unzipped folder that we can actually twirl open. And in here I can see that there is a PNG of that poster, the display of it. There's a read first text file, which could be the licensing, although this one is for personal use only. And then there is the font, the demo of it, TTF, which is a true type font. So on a Mac, what you have to do is double click on the type file itself, and that's going to open up another window, and it's going to open up the font book app, which is down here in your bar. You can see the letter F. So here's the font, but it's not installed yet. You need to click on this install font option right here to actually install it. Now it's there, and when you go to any program, you should see it there. So in Word it's there, in Illustrator, in Photoshop, whatever, you're going to find it. So downloading it alone doesn't activate it on your machine. You have to double click and install it in the font book. Okay? So what I'd like you to do now for the next couple of minutes on your own is look through DaFont and find some fonts that you really like or that you think could have a cool use that you might like. I want you to find a display font that you really like, meaning something that you could do a headline or a logo in. And then I want you to find a body copy type, something that you'd be willing to read 15 pages of. Whereas, you know, shock bar is not one you want to read body copy in. So find them, look around, practice downloading. I want to make sure everybody can successfully download. And then in a few minutes, we're going to just talk through this, and I'm going to have you yell out some font names that you really like I'm going to pull them up on the screen and share them with everybody. So whatever website, DeFont is an easy one to use, so if you want to stay there, that's fine. For commercial use, so that's a great question. When they come with licenses, it's always a good idea to download the font license and keep it in a folder with it, just so you have it. If it's 100% commercial free, you're safe, but it's nice to have that file in a spot. So some people keep it in a subfolder with their actual font, or other people just make a folder on their desktop and they put all the licenses in there. So if they ever need to dig back and find the license for a font, they know where to go look in their folders. All right. Okay, let's share some favorites. What have you guys found for a display font that you think is kind of cool? If you tell me the name of it, I will type it in and share it up here. So who found one that they like? Don't everybody yell all at once. But somebody yell. One. Memories. Memories? Okay, that's a cool scripty font. This is going to be great for small words, not for, it's going to have to be something that you can recognize. At least that word itself, it's kind of hard to visually pick out letter forms, but it's a very cool script font. Could be really neat for like a photography watermark where you set your name in that and watermark your pictures. Do you guys see the difference in the gut feeling between this memories and this memories? This is like a bad nightmare, right? Like that's a totally different representation of the word memories. Okay, who else has a cool font for me?
Capture it, like an extra add to it.
Capture it?
Yes.
Okay. So that has kind of that distressed, blocky look that could be used well in certain applications and not great in others. Also, is it all caps? I'm guessing it is. Yeah. So that's something that, you're not going to set body type in all caps, especially distressed all caps. Other display fonts that you guys found?
I found one called Sheboygan.
With a C?
Yeah.
I saw somebody, I oversaw it on there, looking over their shoulder. Okay, interesting. Got a pretty cool G. Got some interesting, real strong angles on the serifs up here, so that's definitely got a unique look to it. What other ones have you found? Anyone? Bueller. So this morning, aliens and cows. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see this one. But it's not that crazy.
I like it.
I do too. I like it a lot.
I typed in peanut butter and jelly.
Okay.
And I liked how it looked.
So the cool thing is with this one and with some fonts is you get things like the and, the way that's stylized, that's, one keystroke. So when he told me to look up that one, I thought, oh boy, what are we going to see now? But it's a good one. Others. Here's one that I want to show you and tell you a story about. Okay, ice caps. If any of you live at a home or your home that gets mail, you get the free weekly newspaper, right? Depending on if you're in Sheboygan or Manitowoc County, the Sun or the Chronicle or the Shoreline or the this or the that. I want you to grab those and start looking at them because typography has gone awry typically in those magazines, that newspaper format, for a lot of reasons, and not all. I'm not making fun of those people because they are dealing with clients who bought 3 columns by 3 inches and they want to talk about every promo they're having or every band that's playing or whatever, right? The Entertainer, that magazine or that newspaper is just a hot mess too. So this one cracks me up because any holiday sale or snow blowers are 25% off. You're going to see something like this a lot, right? You got to be careful. The thing is, in that demographic and what you're paying for and what you're getting is 100% placement in every household in the county. If they have a mailbox and get mail, they get this newspaper. But who spends time reading those newspapers?
I throw them away.
Right. Who does read them? Yeah, my parents love that. They look and see where the best this fish fry, that fish fry. Oh, there's a railroad show here. Like they go for that. So a clean, modern ad that in your space you just did a few words and maybe visit our website. They're not going to take the time to go. They want to see details. So you have to think about who the client is that's reading that versus us who use it as kindling to start our fire. Which it's great for. So this one cracks me up because, man, you're going to see this one over and over right now, especially with snow blowers and snowplow companies are going to love this font. How about body copy, something that you have to read a lot of? What'd you guys find for good ones?
Modern Sans Light.
Letter sans?
Modern. That's the one I have.
Modern sans. Is it all one word?
No. There's Modern Sans S-A-N-S Light.
Okay. Clean, modern, sans, it's light. Definitely you could read that a lot of. This version is a little thicker, and like this R has such a long rounded part that it almost starts to look like it's turning into an N. So the readability, it's interesting how different this one is. Modern sans serif, whatever. Okay, what other ones did you guys find that you like for being able to read? How about you guys? Did you find one that you like to be able to read?
I had one that's called Lightly Awkward, but I can't find it now. But I found another one. It's
Okay.
called Apple Garmond.
How do you spell it?
G-A-R-A-M-O-N-D.
Oh, Garamond. Okay. Apple Garamond. Okay. So Garamond is a very famous serif type. You've probably heard of it or will hear of it, and maybe that's stylized to look kind of like Apple Macintosh type look. So yeah, that one would be totally legible and readable. Any others or anything else you want to share?
Phosphorus is
Phosphorus. H-O-S-P-H-O-R-U-S. Okay. Serifs, a little bit of a tilt to it, a little, not exactly italicized, but it's got a little movement. But definitely the letter forms are easy to identify and read, so that would work. Looks like it's kind of stretched out. I don't know if it really is in real life, or if you would track it back into more normal zone for reading.
they also have like 10 different fonts.
Sure,
Click
there you
on
go.
them, so
Yep.
there are ones that are straight.
Yep. Show the variants. Submit. That's a few variants.
Yeah.
Again, you guys know that some of these are not really good for legibility and readability. Those are, you're not going to set your whole book in that. That might be a headline, but it's not everything. Okay, excellent work. Anybody find any duds they want to share? Anything really hideous? Besides my snow-covered font or
I just found one that looks like
what's it?
It's C-A-M-A-L-Y,
A-L-Y.
but it looks like the all-day makeup.
It definitely does. A good place to find some kind of usually ugly or inappropriate fonts are in the holiday category, just because, you know, they're kind of special, especially Halloween. You know, something with blood dripping from it is not going to be appropriate for a child care center or whatever.
I like the ones that are like wingdings.
Yeah.
Where it's not even letters, it's just
But look, it's a Mickey. So if you are doing something like the movie posters that are Halloween themed, yeah, these are awesome. They work. They make sense. This Happy Halloween is just, you know, hideous if that's not what you're using it for. So that being said, let's look at, how about your 3 o'clock appointments? Look at your appointment sheet and who is the person who's left out this time? Who has their partners here? 3 o'clock on your sheet, not in real life. Who's the lone potato this time? Okay, you may go with any team. So go sit at one computer with your 3 o'clock person, and you can join whichever team you want once you see how they form up.
Did you ever read anything?
No, you just need to be at your computer. One of you needs to be at the computer. There's a team, there's a team. There's a team. You got your team? Okay. So, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. I'm going to assign to you one of these. I'm going to start kind of backwards and redo some things. So your team right here, I'm going to give you number 8, the Wild West Dude Ranch. You guys get the computer repair service number 7. Jones Funeral Home, number 1. I know. And Pixie Sticks Candy Shop, number 2. So what I want you to do is look through all these different font options that you have. I want you to find 3 versions that would make sense to typeset this company name in, and agree on them in your group and why you think they're fitting and why you think they're good. And then download them, activate them, and then you're going to, in whatever software you want, print out your 3 choices and either handwrite in the name of the font or type it in so we can see the actual name of the font you chose. And then when we're done, we're going to share these and talk about why you made the choices, if we think they're a good choice, and then we're going to do some voting on which of your 3 options is best loved at class. Okay? So, gut reaction, what kind of type do you expect it to look like if this is the name of your business? And again, the blood dripping chiller is probably not good for the daycare. So, dig around on fonts, talk about it, use your mouth and words, have fun, and come up with 3 options.